Hi YouTubers out there, it's Fortune Cookie 45LC coming to you with a very important subject, one that you may not have given much thought to. And at first this video seems to be very boring, but this is important. So if you're the head of the household and you like to shoot, and you're lucky enough that your significant other, whether that be a wife or girlfriend, likes to shoot, you're a lucky man. And she's also lucky because she can enjoy the shooting sports with you. And if there are little ones, either your own or someone else's that you're counseling to shoot and bringing along, it's your responsibility to see to it that they do it safely, but also in a healthy fashion. The topic of this video is shooting in good health. Shooting in good health. And this is a lifetime commitment. Now, why is this important? So we enjoy shooting at the range, but what happens is this. When we fire a round, the primer goes off, and what this primer has in there is a material called lead stipnate. Now, lead stipnate is a detonation ingredient, so that when the primer is hit, the lead stipnate detonates and will set off the powder charge. Now, it used to be fulminate of mercury, and that was even worse. But the lead stipnate, when it goes off, will cause a emission of gases containing some lead and some soot from the stipnate. And when the gunpowder goes off, the gunpowder is made up of cellulose treated with nitric acid or nitrocellulose. And that doesn't burn clean. If it did, it would just create carbon dioxide and water, but it doesn't do that. You get incomplete combustion, which causes a lot of soot and toxic byproducts of combustion. And then you have the bullet. The bullet that's fired either is a lead bullet, like this cast performance lead bullet, or it might be a jacketed bullet that contains lead inside, and some of that lead will be emitted. So the primer, the powder, and the bullet all emit toxic byproducts. Now, this shouldn't cause us to not enjoy our shooting sports, because as long as we respect all of this and we have the knowledge and information, we can deal with it. So, how do you deal with it? Now, a lot of us like to go to the pistol range, and it's an indoor range. And we go in and we shoot, and we assume that it's safe. Well, I'd like to submit to you that you cannot make that assumption. And the reason why is because all indoor ranges are required to be ventilated. And the ventilation will cause air movement from the shooting line toward the targets, so that all the smoke and emissions are vented out away from the shooters, and is vented out into the atmosphere, away from all the people. But there are places in our indoor ranges that, because of the eddies and the way the air flows, there may be dead areas in there. Certain positions, certain shooting positions may be sitting in one of those dead areas. So that if you're in that shooting position and you fire your shots, you don't realize it, but the gases and the byproducts of powder combustion and the primer combustion and the particles of lead probably from the bullets are actually not being vented from that shooting position. So if you're in an indoor range and you notice that you smell smoke when you're shooting, and that goes for .22 long rifle also. If you're smelling smoke, that is not good. You're being exposed to products that you don't want to be exposed to, and that goes for any children that are with you. You don't want that. So that if you clean your nose and you find soot in there, well, you're also getting exposed to some lead particles and lead gases. So watch out for that in indoor shooting ranges. If you feel the air flowing, that's good. That's a good shooting station. You should have that. So look for that. Don't just go to the indoor range and assume it's okay. Now, suppose we're at the rifle range and we're shooting outdoors, but it's a very wind-free day. The air is very stagnant, and when you fire, the smoke's just hanging there. Well, that's not good either. Or worse yet, the wind could be blowing right back toward you, so that the smoke from our firing is actually being blown back at us. So if you look and see some shooting videos on YouTube, especially with black powder, because that makes a lot of smoke, and you notice that the shooter fires and there's a big cloud of black powder smoke, and all of a sudden that cloud of smoke comes back to the shooter and surrounds the shooter's head. That is not a good thing. If you're shooting smokeless, the same thing's happening to you, you just can't see it all. But every time you fire, these cartridges release lots of gases. That's how you drive a 150 grain bullet out to 2,800 feet per second. It takes a lot of expanding gases to do that. So there's a big plume of that gas out there in front of the shooter. Now, notice that some of our military ammo that is very popular to shoot at ranges is actually corrosive ammo. It could be mildly corrosive, which means that it has a fulminate of mercury primer, and that's dangerous. Or it may have corrosive powder as well. If you're shooting corrosive ammunition, for sure you don't want to have the wind blowing back toward you or a dead air day where you're going to be exposed to this. And heaven forbid if you have young children or younger children there, to expose them to that. Now it turns out that lead is a material that is toxic all by itself. To give you an idea, now I've just handled this lead and my fingers now have lead on there. So I'm not going to go to my mouth or to my face with my hand. I'm not going to be eating anything or drinking anything while I'm shooting without washing my hands first very well, because that's how you get exposure. If you just touch the lead like this, handle it with respect, this will not cause you any problem. You don't have to think of this as being radioactive. It's not radioactive. Now with my other hand, I pick up this spoon. And you notice this spoon is made out of stainless steel, and you could have this in your mouth all day and it will not hurt you, because the steel, the basic metal of the steel, will not poison you. it takes the ionized form. If you treat this with acid, it'll dissolve into solution, become a ferric ion. And if you drink that, that'll poison you. Because it's the ionized version that'll poison you. But the thing about lead, now here's my other hand. The thing about lead, though, is lead all by itself will inhibit your enzymes from working. So this is a toxic material all by itself. It does not have to be ionized by being treated with acid into solution. But if you did that, it's still poisonous. So lead is a material that you have to treat with respect, but lead is all around us. It's in car batteries. It's in our ammunition. It used to be in our paint. And of course, we're taking steps to take lead out of the environment, and that's good, because if you know the lead is there, you can treat it with respect and it won't hurt you. But if you don't know it's there, it could be a problem. So I'm not going to touch my face or any food or anything I'm going to put in my mouth with this hand until I wash it. If you put this in your mouth, that is very unhealthy. Don't do this. Don't let children do that either. Now, what happens is, when we shoot our guns, whether it's rifle or pistols, you're going to have a lot of soot and unburned powder, all over your firearms as you're shooting. Again, that gets on your hand. You don't want to go to your mouth. Very unsafe, especially for children who are growing, and their nervous systems are very vulnerable. But it's okay if you treat the shooting with a proper protocol. Now, if we reload, the same thing applies. If we're melting lead to cast bullets, watch out for the fumes that are invisible. When you melt the lead, the fumes are coming up with all that heated air that's all rising. If it's a windless day or if the wind's blowing back toward you, those fumes are going to be coming back toward you. Now you can see this if you look at the reflection. You can actually see the heat waves rising. That's where the fumes are going. If you flux, the flux makes smoke. The smoke will show where the fumes are going. The best spot to do your bullet casting is in a spot where the wind blows away from you, so that when you're sitting here and you're melting and all the smoke comes up from the fluxing, it's being blown away from you. That's the way you want to handle that. And then also, when you're dealing with a lead, like a lead ingot like this, or the finished bullets, again, you don't ever want to touch your mouth or your face after you've gotten exposure on your hand. Because even though you can't see, there's some lead there. And that'll accumulate if you keep on touching your mouth. You don't want to do that. When we clean our guns, be careful of the chemicals that we use to clean our guns. You want to use that in ventilated areas, and you don't want to leave rags that are full of the chemicals and the little soot and everything else we take off our guns when we clean them around. This should be thrown away carefully. When we're reloading, watch out for those times when we're taking the gunpowder and we're filling our powder measures. Because if you look carefully, you'll notice that when you pour the gunpowder out into the powder measure, there'll be some dust of the gunpowder floating up. But once again, you don't want to be inhaling that. So take due caution against some of these things. If we do all these things and watch out for exposure that's unnecessary, then you will have no health issues from shooting. And in fact, a lot of people shoot, and even doing things wrong, they don't get a lot of exposure. But why subject ourselves to that? We want to shoot in good health. So YouTubers out there, let's go ahead and enjoy our sport in good health. And this is very possible to do. Have a nice day, and I hope this video gets you thinking. Bye for now.